Hello, boys and girls. Chris from New Type Archery here. Just doing a little bit of a late night review on release aids. One of my favorite archery subjects. For those of you that know me, you know that I change my release aids all the time, but just picked up a few new ones, and I think I finally found my favorite release aid. Please note these are target archery releases, not hunting as such. Although I suppose you could use it for it. But I still prefer the old wrist strap release for hunting. So these are purely target ones I'll be using. First up, we got a back tension hinge release, which is by Scott Archery. It's the Backspin. I've got mine in the Levi Morgan green edition. It's pretty cool colors, but I think I'm pretty much done with trying to use back tensions myself. I'm just not very good with them. But I'll go over that in a second. Second up, we got Stan or Stanislawski release aids. Really well constructed. The one I'll be reviewing today is the Jest X in a medium. I believe they call it the Jest Exclusive. It's mostly black with a few blue highlights. And the last one, which is, I think, my favorite release aid, is the TRU Ball Abyss. Really well put together. I've never been much of a TRU Ball fan, I'm going to be honest. I've always loved Carter releases, and as a lot of you guys know, I've shot most of my competitions using a wrist release, which is a little bit unconventional. But I think I'll be using this one in tournaments from now on. Okay, so first up, for those that like hinge releases, this is I guess relatively new in the market. It's a little bit different from your conventional hinge release in that in the index finger groove here, this actually rotates. So the idea being, as you increase the back tension on that, your index finger can stay static, and it just rotates around as such until the hinge goes off. So just holding the hook in place there, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, gone. It's really cool and innovative. This is a 3-finger model. You can actually remove that and just make it a 2-finger. But I don't know. I've been trying to teach myself how to use back tensions for a little while, and for me it just doesn't work. I'm not a surprise shooter. I'm a command shooter, meaning that I keep just a little bit of tension on the trigger, and the moment my crosshair goes over the X, I actually force a punch, rather than trying to keep the weight on my arm and just maintain that crosshair or reticle over the X and just let the shot take me by surprise, which is probably why I have a lot of trouble with back tensions. I mean, I just can't get used to it. For me, this is worse than punching a trigger release aid, because there's so much travel pull and a lot of movement. And still being a relatively new archer, I've only been shooting for about 7 months. I think I've done pretty well in 7 months, but I still have trouble with keeping all the weight of that bow perfectly steady. So, I mean, for the experienced archers, this may well be worth a try. It's very comfortable to hold. No issues with the comfort factor in these, but just not for me. The Stan is actually my newest release aid. I mean, I got these two within a few days of each other, but I ordered this from Lancaster Archery in the U.S., and people have been telling me Stans, they're the business. These are the go. And I will say, I'm pretty impressed with it. It's different in a lot of ways. One is how close the actual hook is to your fingers. It's you can see it's right up there. So I mean, you're going to be anchoring really close to the D loop with your hand. And that's a good position. That's a really good position. I've got it set on the open hook. It actually comes with a hook guard that actually sits in the end. I've removed mine because I actually do like an open hook. And As you can see, it's got a big locking trigger here, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, locking trigger, locking button, which just clicks on. That hook's completely static. And then just a little bit of pressure, and it's off. There's, like, I don't know if you can see that, but there's almost no travel in the trigger. And just with this little Allen key screw in that hole there, you can adjust the tension completely. It's pretty adjustable. I mean, you can have a couple of positions here for how far out you want the barrel to be. You can extend that arm, and you can also tighten up the screw inside there if you want to reposition that to whichever natural position your thumb sits in. I just have a very slight angle on mine, because when I lock up and anchor in, you know, my thumb does just extend away from me just a little bit, so it can sit perfectly flush in the barrel, get that anchor point locked in, and just squeeze down while squeezing a tennis ball. One thing that's really good about these is there's a little groove in there, because I do favor 3-fingered releases, and just as a general rule, I always do place my last finger right at the end of it, and just have a groove there, which I can use my little finger to aid in that squeezing, forcing motion. You know, they say you're supposed to be using the motion like you're squeezing a tennis ball to let it off. It's pretty good. I've only got one complaint about these. One major complaint, one minor complaint. The minor complaint is stand releases run a little small. This is a medium, and you know, I've got a reasonably chunky sort of hand, and it feels very small. I've got other medium release aids by Carter, other medium release aids by, you know, TRU, Scott, and this is by far the smallest. So whatever you're looking for, I'd say go a size up. That's the minor one. I mean, long and short of it is you can get used to it. My other issue is it's just a little uncomfortable when the trigger goes off. You can see it's quite a sizable locking mechanism that pops back out. And I am not a shooter who uses my first groove or first knuckle groove in the fingers to hold it. So I don't have it completely exposed. I actually sit in a little bit deeper, and when I do depress that, it actually does go into my fingers a little bit. Just mildly irritating, but for me, it's a comfort factor. And when you're shooting like a feeder 1140 or a feeder 720 or anything like that, and you're doing quite a number of ends, you know, it does get a little irritating. But other than that, really good release aid. I'm still getting used to it, and this is a very open hook, so I am being extra careful with the angles I'm actually drawing this at, and I find that I overdraw at an angle and then just sort of get it to a point where I'm semi-comfortable with it before I fire. So just a little bit of getting used to, but all in all, it's a pretty good release aid. I'm gonna play with it a little bit more, because it is so short. It is a completely different anchoring point. Like, I switched from using this release the other day and went to this, and my arrow at, what was I shooting? I was shooting at 30 meters, ended up about a good 1.5 feet higher. Well, that's the stand. I definitely recommend giving it a try, though. They've got a number of different ones in the range. Hopefully I'll pick up a few more over the next few weeks or months or whatever, and give it a crack. Now, the TRU. TRU Abyss. This is one of their signature editions. I believe it came out together with a back tension hinge release called the Fulcrum. I think this is done to Jesse Broadwater's specs. Whatever he's told him to do, this is pretty amazing. I know everyone's raving about the HBX that they're waiting to come out, which is the new Rio Wild edition, but I cannot see it being any better than this. This is absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, the best release on the market. It's very adjustable. It's got a different position along its main body, where you can readjust your hook position. So depending on where your anchor point is, whether you want to anchor with your hand facing all the way forward or tilted back, depending on how you like to keep your thumb, whether it's a fingertip type release, whether it's right in the groove of your knuckle there. Fully adjustable. I haven't seen any other releases with that much adjustment in it. By default, it comes with a smaller barrel than this. This is included in the pack. I've changed it to the bigger one just because I'm used to the Carters. They come with a nice big barrel. It also comes with an extendable arm. If you like to have your thumb out further, I actually like to have it pretty close in, so this is nice for me. And it's got a very, very, very small, very concealed locking trigger, locking button, locking trigger. Someone's got to explain these terms to me. I'm still relatively new to this, guys. But the action is just absolutely sublime. So just lock in, hooks on. As you can see, zero travel. Zero travel again. That's, I don't even know if you can see that, but that's how much movement is in it. And the factory tension that it gets set at is so light and comfortable. And the hook, even though it's tiny, it's still a pretty good hook angle. And I have no problem drawing back with this with absolute confidence. You know, I've drawn fast, I've drawn slow, and there's no way this hook's coming off. Absolutely amazing. And it's a heavy release too, and it feels good in the hand. You know, really thick, really comfortable. And I'll be shooting in the Nationals in this one. Hopefully we'll get a podium finish. But I would highly recommend that to everyone out there. These all run reasonably high in the price range. I think this is about $240 for the Backspin. The stand comes in at around about $290 Australian dollars, and the Abyss is actually the most expensive out of the lot with its full brass body. I think this runs at roughly $330 Australian. If you're serious about competition archery, though, it's well worth the expense. These are really well built, and I mean, I haven't used it long enough to see if all the internal mechanisms last and deal with the wear and tear of regular shooting. But I've used Carters, which are known for being very reliable, and I think these are right up there. Comfort-wise, I wouldn't care even if it does run expensive and only lasts me a year, because the added surety you get from shooting something this comfortable, it's really good. And for a command shooter, the zero travel, perfectly light trigger. The moment you get it over that crosshair, bang, you're off. So I hope that's helpful to some of you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you like it. Thank you.